Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn. Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, 7 o'clock, time to Zoom into Wine. My name is Ian Blackburn. Got a 4-day shadow going on here, refusing to shave this week, working really hard. Need that extra 15 minutes a day, and feeling good about it. Made some huge progress this week. I hope you guys are having a good week. Sometimes it's easy to do what I do, and sometimes it's a grind. And I am so relieved to be on the other side of some difficult situations. So we've made it to this point. I'm feeling great. Let's see. Got a couple people trying to get in. A couple people I don't recognize. Make sure they're okay. Right. Got another person joining. So tonight, every week we get together around different grape variety or different country, region, producer, and celebrate a bunch of really good wines, sending out little tasting kits, tasting things from across the spectrum. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're going across the spectrum of Cabernet, tasting a couple of great values and just tasting a couple of top efforts. Some smaller producers, some larger efforts, some famous, some not so famous. I hope you guys enjoy the effort here. Cabernet does tend to be a very large topic. So I want to get started, though, by letting you know that I shared with everybody a little vial that's unlisted, and that is the 7th little bonus taste. We're going to get started with that here. So if you have that handy and can get it into your glass, just a little bonus, a little kind of blind tasting, see what you think about it. I'd like you to taste it and tell me what you think it is. And here's my hint. It has a lot to do with Cabernet Sauvignon. And if you want to throw your guess into the chat, that way we can see if all guesses are welcome. What is the name of the grape in this first wine? You don't have to guess the producer. You don't have to guess the vintage. Just tell me the grape. And it's a blind wine. It's not 1 through 6. It is a little bonus for our guests here to say thank you for joining us tonight. And then after you tell me what grape you think it is, maybe you want to tell me what you think about it. Hi, Stephanie. Good to see you. Richard, thank you for joining us. Natalie, always great. Thomas. Dave, thank you. Somebody gonna guess on me? "30 seconds. It has a lot to do with Cabernet. Good guess, Thomas. Not correct. Not Malbec.
Cabernet Franc.
Bingo, Richard. Good job. You and Stephanie nailed it at the same time. A lot to do with Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet wouldn't be Cabernet without Cab Franc. Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc got together a while ago and created Cabernet Sauvignon. Today, it's the largest planted grape variety in the world. Anyone want to guess what the second most planted grape variety is?
Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's a good guess, but I think the the guess will maybe be controversial, uh, but Grenache, because you got a lot of Grenache planted in Spain, a lot of Grenache planted in France, a lot of Grenache in California, a lot of Grenache making the G in the GSM in Australia. Grenache comes in second. Probably not the grape you were thinking about. I'm sure Pinot Noir has shot up the list quite a bit as well. Yeah, we'll get to which Cab Franc it is just a sec. I will tell you all about. Tonight we're going to talk about Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is a look at the grape variety hanging on the vine. Cabernet is really an interesting grape, especially when you taste it right off the vine. It's got this almost leathery, dense skin, and it protects that, from the heat. You need the heat to ripen it. You don't ripen the Cabernet. You get a lot of pyrazines, and Cabernet Franc carries that forward. And that's what we were really experiencing, a little bit of that kind of very typical Cab Franc smell. Which one was it? It was from Robert Foley, who is one of the top producers of Cab Franc, 2021. This was a 96 pointer that you were trying. That's a really good expression from the Napa Valley, grown at elevation, made by Robert Foley, who's been making wine since the late 1970s. Became kind of a cult, the definition of a cult winemaker back when Robert Parker was really kind of telling people what to buy. Robert Foley was a big support, largely supported by Parker. Big style mountain producer, mountain Merlot, mountain Cab Franc were his specialty. Today, is like the king of another grape variety called Charbonneau, which is not made by many people, but in the Napa Valley, you go to every restaurant, if they have a Charbonneau on the list, it's probably Robert Foley. And Cab Franc is as important now as Cabernet Sauvignon to Robert Foley as well. He does blend a little Cabernet Sauvignon in. It's kind of a reverse blend. You're going to make a cab, you might use 12% Cab Franc. This time he used 12% Cabernet Sauvignon with his 76% Cab Franc and 11 Merlot. And he's champions of all three of those big red hillside wines. And he got 96 points from Jeb Dunnick for that Cab Franc. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Great way to start off the tasting. Tasting a mother of Cabernet Sauvignon, or maybe it was the father. I'm not sure. Let's get into wine number one. This is the new 2023, released in December of last year. We had the 22 before this and had some really good success. This is called Method. Last year, we even had the winemaker on for a Zoom. Method is coming from Lake County, which is northern California, and in particularly the Red Hills of Lake County. Ian Cobble is a master sommelier, and he makes this Method 2022. Ian Cobble from the movie or docu-series called Somm, and it was the original Somm Into the Bottle, it was called. Really an entertaining show. And he finally got through that Master Somm program. And we always give each other a high five because we actually went to the same high school in Huntington Beach, California. He was graduated 10 years after me. But two Ians in wine that went to a high school in Huntington Beach. Pretty weird. And a lot of people ask me, do you know Ian in NorCal? And a lot of people ask him the same about me. So it was great to get to work with him a little bit. And really bright dude, travels the world now and has a lot of different businesses that he's involved in. We're going to talk a little bit about his 2023 because the 23 was an exceptional harvest in California. And if you were to rank them, I'm not sure the 23 outranks the 21 vintage yet, but probably by next year, this time when all the 23s are in and they're starting to really soften up a little bit, the 23 is, statistically a really important vintage for the state of California, some of the best fruit ever. And I think it's ironic that we're releasing these 23s into the face of one of the more difficult moments in wine. And maybe this is what we need. We need to have this difficult moment, and then in comes the 23s, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's so good. And it brings people back. Maybe that's what will happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little optimistic, but this is a really good starting point. Why? Because this is a delicious 2023. It carries California on the label because it's from that, kind of fairly unknown part of Lake County. I can't imagine how much more difficult it would be to put on the label Lake County. People are like, where is that? So we just put California, and guess where everybody thinks this comes from when you put California on the label? They think it comes from the Napa Valley because Napa makes all the wine, right? Napa makes 3% of our wine supply in California. 30% of our dollars come from Napa, but 3 to 4% every year from Napa Valley. Napa Valley is an ultra premium spot and only responsible for a small quantity of the wine. So this one comes in with an incredible score, 94 points in the Wine Enthusiast, and was named the #1 value wine of 2025 by the Wine Enthusiast. So really a big success on the scores and stuff. And then you get to the price for a fantastic little 23 California cab that's absolutely delicious, balanced, structured. It's got some great acidity. $20. And as you can see, I take a pretty good position on this. I sell it by the case often, and it moves through pretty fast. So this is a great little find. For $20, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this wine. I think $20 wines tend to disappoint. Not this one. This is one of my top values, top finds. I think it's got a lot of acidity and structure. Some people might like it a little riper, a little more chocolatey, a little bit, more tender. I think it almost drinks like a young Bordeaux. And maybe that's why I like it so much. But I think it's, I've said this, and maybe you've seen me say this. I think in California, we're going through this structural shift where we're starting to make wines a little less ripe. And at the same time, Napa or Bordeaux is making wines a little more ripe. And maybe those pendulums swing for a moment where Napa is over here making less ripe wines than Bordeaux. And you might be looking at that moment right here, right now, with wines like this coming in somewhere in the low 14, 13.9, 14, 14.1 range. This wine, by the way, saw no wood, just time and stainless, but comes from some really important vineyards that he can't tell you where they come from because of the price point. Anyway, that's just a little preview into tonight. We got 2 wines down, got a lot to cover. So we're going to go right into wine number 2 with Caliza. Any questions, put them in the chat or speak up and chat me up. We got a nice group here. We all know each other probably. I'm happy to answer and field any comments or questions. I hope you enjoyed wine number 1. Caliza wines. This is a classic Paso Robles producer. I'm not sure how many of you have been to Paso, but it has changed quite a bit. In fact, I believe it's 10 sub-appellations of Paso now. And Caliza makes wine from a number of appellations, also makes their own estate wines, and has a really fantastic little situation with a tasting room right off the highway. You can pull in there and meet Carl Bacher, one of the great personalities of Paso Robles, one of the kindest, most earnest, hardworking guys, and really makes some beautiful stuff. And Caliza has been doing it for a long time. Well, a couple of years ago, he's realizing his Caliza wines are approaching $100 a bottle, and there's some opportunities with some fruit, more plantings coming on board. Prices are coming down on purchasing some fruit. So he goes out and purchases some fruit to be able to make just some really outstanding varietal wines for a very good value. And that's what End of Day represents. So we went from a great value in Northern California to a great Paso reference. And you're going to get a little bit more of that seductive ripeness here with Paso. I think you tend to expect just a little bit more of that plumper edge at the front. Plus, this benefits from being a 2021 with a little bit of time in the bottle. Really some beautiful smells like blueberries, sandalwood, potpourri. 92 points. Talk about walnut, espresso, dried fruit, leather, black cherry, toasted pecan, caramel, cocoa bean. Good balance, good structure, wonderful site. Look at those terraces. So pretty, so cool. $28. Another great little deal. I think there's going to be quite a few of them in the next year or so. There's a lot of wine out there. This is one of them, but this is done by a really good guy. He's a small producer. Not going to find it in a lot of big value markets or anything. Kind of made it for restaurants and by the glass and wine shops to be able to have something of value. So I hope you like those first two. Maybe Stephanie likes the Paso cap. Excellent. That's End of Day. He is adding a few other wines to the line. Makes a really excellent End of Day Albarino. A little red blend. And I believe there's another white coming on board here. So just something for him to be able to offer at value. We're going to jump it up a notch and go to Pelle. We're in Napa Valley. This is a fairly new operation from a winemaker named Mayan Koshitsky. Mayan worked for a long time for Philippe Melka, and still, in fact, I believe he's still helping with the Melka Atelier project as a main force behind Philippe Melka. But this is his own baby. Here's a look at the photo. Six Bordeaux styled vineyards all in a place in southern Napa Valley, Pelle. Love the label. Super cool. Blends a little bit of Petit Verdot here. And he makes 6 different Cabernets from those 6 different sources. And then this is like the culmination, the blend of those 6 wines. So this carries Napa appellation because it is a blend of those 6 sites. And it is a relative value compared to the single vineyard offerings, which all exceed $100 a bottle. So the Napa's blended masterfully here by Mayan. And we get a $85 iteration from Mayan here. Now, this week, all Cabernet at Merchant of Wine is on sale until Friday with the code CAB10. This is not a Zoom sale type of a situation. This is on our website. We've promoted through our emails and website that we're doing a little Cabernet sale. So anything that you like today can get an additional 10% off, and any other Cabernet that you find on the Merchant of Wine website will qualify for the CAB10 discount code. Here, a little more elevated quality-wise. Well, significantly maybe. You got that extra roundness and creaminess and texture. Some fantastic dusty notes, dusty cherry. A lot of minerality too, because a lot of his style with Mayan's wines really pull on that string of minerality. And he loves Coombsville. It's his primary source for a lot of his winemaking, a lot of his projects. And so Coombsville is one of the cooler zones in the Napa Valley. And this feels, tastes, and acts a lot like a Coombsville iteration. Definitely glad you like it. $85, a real find from the Napa Valley. And I hope you continue to love our selections tonight. The next time we get together is May 6th. Is that next week? I can't believe it's May already. Oh my gosh. Because we're at the end of April. We there. This Saturday, I'm doing the Milk and Wealth Conference. I'm doing a big event for them. So we've had a lot on our plate this week. Really pretty awesome. But Wednesday, May 6th is our next Zoom. And I took some chances here with the topicality. I want to show you what we're doing. We're pulling together some really unique wines from different corners of the planet to really explore winemaking styles, ideas, new grape varietals, new findings, old tradition, kind of all blended together. We're going to taste a wine from a Quivery or Quiver. That's basically the name that they give their ceramic container in Georgia. And so we'll have a Georgian amphora dry amber, they call it. It's basically an orange wine that's skin contact white in amphora. We're going to taste this fantastic find from Spain that lives underneath fleur. So the fleur, which is very famous in the South and in the wines as a way to make sherry, here is in a dry white with just a kiss of fleur. And I think it's spectacular. Super, super charming and fun. Teeny producer, kind of wild. We're going to go to northern Spain and taste wines from a great winemaker and his wife. I've had some of the Venus La Universal wines on Zooms in the past years. We kind of lost them for a minute because they lost their distributor, some changes and stuff. We finally just got them back. And so we've got it's called Dido, and this is all natural fermentations, bottled with low sulfur. Not marketed as a natural wine per se, but that's their ethos there. And so it's a really beautiful, big, dynamic wine for $30. I think you're going to love it. One of our top selling wines out of Portugal, we'll talk about the grape Baga, and this is from Filipa Pato. You will be a hipster in the wine circles if you know about Filipa Pato, and in the Portuguese world, she's a super important producer, and we're going to be able to taste the Baga 2024, which is continuing to grow in our wine store. It's a significant holding, and I always try to keep about 36 bottles in stock, and it goes quick. And so we'll be getting our Baga on. El Enemigo, the Cab Franc is in my store. I've ordered it 3 or 4 times. 95 points, $25. This is just an awesome little production from one of the Argentina's top producers, and they make a $120 one that got 99 points, but the $25 iteration for $26, pretty killer. And then to go hyper old school, we're going to go to Bussola for a Valpolicella Superiore Ripasso next week, and talk about Ripasso and how it's impacting the way we're making wine around the world, because a lot of people are using this Ripasso style, taking the Amarone grapes after fermentation, putting them into the Valpolicella to amplify the quality of their base wine. And this is one of the top producers. And so it's going to be a really fun lineup, going all over the place next week with the topicality, a lot of winemaking discussion, may have a couple special guests. Come and join me. After that, Spain, Rosé, Central Coast, Alsace, White Burgundy, and there's events into July on the website now. Next, wine 4, Venge. Almost always the most exciting wine on the table. This is his least expensive wine. Silencieux. Cabernet Sauvignon 2023. Recently released. Kirk Venge, winemaker, Napa Valley, son of Niels Venge. Nice stuff. You were in Napa Valley last week. I saw you were in Napa last week. And you were at the Chateau Montelena tasting. And then did you go to Venge as well? Good stuff. Everything that he puts his hands on, he makes a statement with. I carry a couple of different wines from Kirk. And, a lot of my trade shows and stuff that I produce in the city of Los Angeles, we get the support of the Venge family. He makes some incredible Pinot Noirs with his label called CRIOX Qua. I think that's how you pronounce it. So the roots of the family go back to 1976, but Niels Venge, his father, was most famous for being the first 100-point wine in Napa Valley, the 1985 Groth. And that really turned up the volume on the brand known as Venge. And and Kirk certainly was a good student because, man, his wines are solid. They're made in a prodigious style, big and ripe and round, and people love that. You can see in the background on this photo here some of that fire damage in the hills behind the winery. Sweet cassis, anise, blackberries, roasted coffee, 100% on the roasted coffee. I always get this super like espresso nose. We sold out on this Zoom, so I get like this fractional taste that's like a little teeny tease, but I hope you're enjoying. He's using three grape varieties here: Cab Franc, Merlot. 93 points in the wine palette. There's a picture of Kirk Venge. 50% new French oak. 22 months. Deep garnet color. They don't get much darker usually than his wines. Black cherries, warm cassis, dried mulberries.
Hey Ian, what do you get? 2% is pretty low in the blend. What do you get? What would you think you would get from that, adding that into the blend?
The Petit Verdot or the Malbec was a 2%.
I thought the Merlot was 2% on the earlier slide. Maybe I
Yeah.
had that wrong.
Let's see. Let me click through here 1 second. I'll get that question. But you know, I honestly will tell you 1% of something can really,
Can make a difference, huh? Okay.
it's like, it's just the volume knobs change. Yeah. And sometimes when we're tasting, when we're blending, even if it was just 100% cab, but maybe you were using some hard press or, you know, featuring all this French oak stuff, and then you had a little bit that wasn't oaked, could actually maybe even exaggerate the wood at some point, just depending on the blend. Maybe you want to fade the wood out. It just, it's so crazy how it's almost counterintuitive too, because sometimes that hard press, you think with all that extra tannin, because you pressed really hard and you got something really tannic already, and then you put it together, and it's kind of like 1 + 1 = 3
Hmm.
because the tannins start to harmonize, and you're blending for mouthfeel, you're blending for the nose, you're blending for balance, and you're finding all these levels and doing it, and that's probably one of the hardest jobs of a winemaker. Now, this is a lot of wine for $65, and you always, I mean, pound for pound, there's very few wine producers that can get this much wine in the bottle with the Napa and the pedigree at this price point. A lot of his wines go shooting towards $200 a bottle, but this is kind of the hard working, larger production in his arsenal. He's able to use a lot of his, unused product here and blending it in from his higher end stuff, and that works really well. So it's beneficial to us to get something, left over from a $200 bottling, blended together by a master here, and the scores are solid. 93 points, pretty great. But yeah, I can see that this is 2% Merlot. Probably just adding a little bit of richness, because Merlot is going to be a little softer, chocolate, cherry, and kind of just comes in behind. It's like, what are horns doing to your symphony? And you can hear the piano come in the background, or maybe a bass line. that's the way wine blending works, and some people can really, put together quite an orchestra. The only
That
problem is,
definitely sounds like magic. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, you got it. And you know what's weird too is that one person's 2% Merlot isn't the same as somebody else's 2% Merlot. You don't know where that Merlot came from. It could be the most dense Merlot you've ever seen, and that thing can just carve a dent in a big wine. And or maybe it's not. Maybe it's the opposite, and it just doesn't really appear. But he's got a couple hundred extra gallons of Merlot he's got to put somewhere, and it didn't make the wine better or worse. So it's just increased his quantity. There's a lot of reasons to do it. Some of them, honestly, might be about money. Some of them might be about making this wine only $65 because the cab cost 10,000 and the Merlot cost him 2, and the Cab Franc a little bit too. So, but I just have a feeling that because he does use so many different grape varieties, that he just found a nice balance here with those tools. It wasn't probably just about getting rid of stuff. Sometimes you even have to go out in the market and say, hey, does anybody have some Merlot? I want to soften this thing up a little bit. You lose the word estate, but he's not trying to make an estate wine here. Cool. Hope you enjoyed that. Are we on wine 5 already? Moving quick. I changed my mind a couple of times of which order I wanted to taste these things, but I wanted to kind of stay on that parallel of Napa Valley. And now I want to taste a couple wines that aren't Napa Valley. But you have to kind of reset your palate for a second, maybe take a little sip of water and kind of adjust your expectations, because price points go all over the place here. But with that being said, maybe what you get out of Margaret River on the west coast, I guess it is maybe it's the east coast. Let me look at the map. Let me see what map we used here.
West Coast.
It is west, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been there.
Good. Yeah, because we're looking at the map upside down. I don't know. It is west. It is west. No, yeah. Never mind what I just said. It's west, and it's the frickin' edge of the planet, is what it is. And the Margaret River is famous for making some fantastic Bordeaux styles and Chardonnay wines. Producers like Lewin Estate are right down the street, and I got to visit both Lewin and this property when I was there a few years back. The restaurants in this part of the world all have great restaurants that makes them the destination to go for a great meal. This place has got so much charm and personality, and they're kind of famous for making a wine called Tom Colletti. That's their top like $200 cab. This is not that. This is just Filius is really their banging value, and that's what they're famous for. They're not famous for Shiraz on this part of the world. This is cab country. This is Bordeaux blends, and this is arguably in the top 3 producers of the region. Winemaker there is very celebrated. The winery does enormous business. They get so much visitation, great meals, and Vasse Felix is the producer. 95 cab, 4 Malbec, 1 Petit Verdot. You can see how they influence the wine a little differently. Again, just, building the symphony, putting the pieces together. And there is Virginia. And I don't know if you were with us when we had Virginia on our Zoom. maybe a year ago, maybe it was more. She's a rock star, big time, and we got her to do a Zoom with us. I couldn't believe it. And abundant black fruit. This wine's 94 points, James Suckling. It definitely has an outside of Napa Valley character to it. Got it in my glass right now. Drinks well from the day it hits the door. This is just made for fun, delicious, reliable, good quality. Great cab weather out there. $27. I think if you go to the website and we sell out of this wine, we may have, it may have come in today. Not sure if we updated the website. I should look live. Nope. It will be here. I've got 18 more bottles coming. So let me know if the machine runs out and you would like some more. $27, 94 points. Great producer, great name. I think the fact that it's under Stelvin works perfectly for me for this wine. This is my Hollywood Bowl wine. I hate having to worry about a wine opener at the Hollywood Bowl. And I sneak this into movie theaters. I do all kinds of stuff with this. So this, at this price point, it's just rip it and grip it and rip it, I think is what they say. In Australia, it's also cool to shake your wine and give it, get a little aeration just by shaking it up. And the screw cap works perfect for that. Wine number 6 tonight. Kind of flying through them a little bit. I'm not getting a lot of questions or comments, so you guys can slow me down at the end if you want, or not. But we're moving into Silver Oak already, and every time I get a new vintage, I like to taste it with you guys and kind of see how it's doing. Silver Oak, is a benchmark. It's one of the few wines that kind of cross over in my world. It's pretty highly exposed in a lot of different retail environments, but I still want to support the great reference that it is. Why is it called Silver Oak? Because that is what we grow in America. It's an American oak aged wine. So it's 100% American oak. It's 100% from Alexander Valley. And the Alexander Valley Silver Oak cab, I'm telling you, I think is coming down in price, or staying the same price that it's been for such a long time. It's I think a lot of Silver Oak drinkers are maturing out. I think a lot of people maybe own a lot of Silver Oak in their cellar. There's been a lot of other things to take your attention away, but Silver Oak is still really an important brand, and they've made a lot of money over time. Today, the winemaker is Dan Kemp, and this wine brand was started in 1972. It certainly rode the wave. They have a Napa production facility where they make a Napa Silver Oak. They also started to explore other grape varieties with the Silver Oak name, but this is the wine they stand behind as the symbol of Silver Oak. And top beautiful wine production facility, really intelligently laid out. 24 months of American oak. You get American oak when you start smelling a little dill. little eucalyptus. I think you get a lot of that. It's I think 21 is a pretty awesome long-term vintage. I think they typically come screaming out of the gate. And this is one to kind of collect and hold on to, because 2021 was a very good, but a vintage that really kind of rewards some patience across all wines. 23 is going to be a little bit more gregarious and happy and easy to get to know. 21 is a smaller vintage than 23 by a long shot, and gave us some real incredible concentration, but also kind of demands some time in your cellar. And that's what this one's kind of doing too.
In general, silver oak ages well, does it not?
It ages really well.
Yeah.
I kept thinking at some point those wines from the 1990s are going to come undone, but they're still showing great. And stylistically, this brand's been on point for a very long time. And James Suckling, doesn't give them the flashy 100-point scores, but you've got to be pretty happy with 93, 94, 95 when you're kind of going against the grain a little bit, using American oak and doing something that's stylistically very similar to what you did 30 years ago. This brand has not changed. It's not changed its style. It's got a ruggedness, a chewy tannin, big structure, long aging. And I think 21's a really exceptional iteration. I use that word too much tonight. Really nice version. There's the tasting room. Really a tranquil, cool place to go visit. I mean, tranquil when it's on a Monday, Tuesday. It's a freaking rock concert on the weekends. Yeah. $79. Been pretty steady for a very long time.
That's actually not too bad.
Yeah.
Silver Oak's a very well-known brand.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, it's oops.
And you get 10% off on anything we tasted tonight or anything else Cabernet off the website. I'm just gonna double check and make sure I said that code correctly, because if somebody uses it and doesn't work right, you'll get upset. Let me just make sure. Just checking my email. All cab. Yeah, there it is. Cab 10. Is that what I said? CAB 10. 10% off. All Cabernet, but only the Cabernets should discount. So thank you guys for joining my tasting tonight. I hope you enjoyed our look at some great and crazy Cabernet. But I will tell you, that Cabernet list that we have is pretty rich. I want to share. I'm going to open up that Cabernet list from my email and just show you. We have so many different versions. And here we go. So I sent out this email. If you get our emails, you'd seen this on the 25th, and it lists everything in price order. And you could see that we try to balance out and have something at almost every different price point. Some of them might get a little crazy, like Screaming Eagle and Harlan and Promontory and Scarecrow and Realm and 100 Acre. But you work your way down the list and you're still talking about really nice nice brands. Some of them I like to, stand behind because they're small and teeny. Brands like Low Pie out of Paso, really cool. Zeitgeist, that's a great little find. Got a little age on it now. The 18 Zeitgeist is going to drink great. Evidence, we've had him on the line before. I have his 21 Immaculate Vineyard in Coombsville. Just try to make Cabernet fun and find different things at different prices, and have a good selection, but not make my entire store about it. But I think you'll look through the list, and I like to buy wine for the store, kind of like you're looking at a wine list in a restaurant, hoping to see that graduation in price. You never know. Somebody all of a sudden says, "Hey, I want a $900 bottle of Scarecrow," or "I want to try the Sire Hui Vineyard." Can't sell it if you don't have it. And I'm really proud of our selection right now. I think we've got as good a wine selection as any store out there. We're sitting right now at 1,200 SKUs, and I did this week emails that look just like that one, to give you a laundry list of every Barolo or every Rioja that we have, and trying to just make people look at the list a little bit differently. I'll finish up just by talking about future travel. I've been working hard on my trip to Champaign, my trip to Sonoma. I've got a trip to Washington, Walla Walla next year. We're awaiting some more stuff for our New Zealand excursion next year, and starting to think about 2028 and what we're gonna do, and planning way out there. You have Natalie, you have some 2016 in your cellar. That's awesome. Another very good vintage. 16 Silver Oak is pretty excited. That got pretty big and bold. I think the 21 is really refined and pretty and elegant. 16 is like the volume set on 11, and it's turned way up. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm glad everything's opening up nicely. Anybody have any other questions for me? I got to go to a Dodger game on Monday night, kind of a last minute. Friends bought some really good tickets, and somebody got sick, and they said, "Who could we invite? How about that crazy wine guy that likes the Dodgers?" They called me. I literally dropped what I was doing and went over to the game, and we got to sit row 1. How cool is that? And we won in the 9th inning, walk-off fashion. Hey, Natalie, you knew Zeitgeist? Mark is a great winemaker, and so is his wife. So that's their brand together. And yeah, I've ordered Zeitgeist a few times. It's not my biggest seller, but I'm very proud of it, and I think it's really good.
Yeah, we did a tasting at what's the fun little like drive-in place on the highway?
Gots.
Gots. Yeah, Mark showed up there with his cooler of wine, and we tasted his wines on one of the picnic tables in the back. So it was super low key, but fabulous wines.
We just got our first Gots in Los Angeles, and I think we're getting 2 or 3 at a time. They put a Gots refresher at the Grove, and I think they're building somewhere else too. So somebody came up with some big bucks for some rapid expansion for Gots. So it's it's got the best location at the Grove. You can see it from Fairfax driving by, and it's doing the business already. So good for them. Well, great to hang out with you all. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy the wines and get to spend some good time with them. Steph, that one is under screw top tonight. Do you have a Corvin screw?
We do. We have 2 caps, and we used them for both of them.
All right, cool. That's good. That's a really good way to do it. I would say the Corvin screw cap's good. Keeps it really nice for at least a week.
Perfect.
Yeah, I wouldn't age those for months. Like I would put if you're going into a bottle one time with a Corvin, I think it's fine for a year to put it away. But with the screw cap one, I think a week is a better expectation.
We can do it.
Awesome. Love Gots. Dave says he likes the chili dogs, and then it's all Napa wines there, right?
Yep.
That's so cool. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Working on some pretty big stuff. I've got a huge show on Saturday for the Milken Foundation, and I'm very fortunate to have them as my single largest client every year. And I will shave for next week. Thanks for the
Pretty sure
comment.
some of my coworkers will be there.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, have them come say hi if you see him. Say hi to the wine guy in the corner. I'll be stressing out doing the competitions.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Very
Go.
enjoyable.
Thanks very much. And go Dodgers.